We begin with Prime Minister Mark Carney's visit to Doha, where he says today's historic meetings in the capital of Qatar have been productive, working on a number of agreements drumming up Canadian business.
That Qatar has committed to make significant strategic investments in Canada's nation-building projects. This capital will help the projects get built faster and supercharge our energy industries, while helping to create thousands of high-paying careers for Canadians. After years of stalled negotiations, we're prioritizing a new investment promotion and protection agreement, which will finalize by this summer. This agreement will enable Canadian businesses to more easily expand their operations in and attract investment from this dynamic $290 billion economy.
Carney says the two countries are deepening their ties across trade, investment, defense, and artificial intelligence. He says Qatar and Canada are launching negotiations on a new double taxation agreement aimed at making it easier for Canadians to work and invest there, and vice versa. With me now to discuss is Laurie Williams, political analyst at Mount Royal University. Good morning, Laurie. Good to have you.
Great to be with you, Laura.
So what stood out to you in Carney's announcement this morning?
Well, some of this was expected. The idea that there would be investment in Canada, that was the primary purpose for going there. This is going to come specifically with these major projects that have been promised. It'll inject cash. It won't just be government money going into this. It will be private sector investment, and that's something that clearly many Canadians are very anxious to see injected into our economy. That this is going to help the energy industry, although it wasn't spoken of in that particular clip. This is going to be, sort of conventional energy, but also renewable alternatives, innovations with respect to energy as well, and also in the area of AI. And it looks like there'll be exchanges of personnel between the two countries, and that they'll sort of be able to build on the innovations and the strengths that each have to bring to the table.
Carney mentioned there that the relationship between Canada and Qatar is evolving from what he called close friends to strategic partners. How significant is that shift? And could Qatar's human rights record get in the way of all this?
Well, there is an issue there. And of course, there are issues with human rights in China as well. There just seems to be a pragmatic approach here that there's going to just have to be a recognition that something that we haven't talked about a lot in the last few years, the idea of constructive engagement, working with people in these different countries might actually move things in a direction rather than pointing fingers, working jointly and collaboratively with other countries. The hope is that that'll move in a more positive direction. The strategic bit has more to do with what's going on in the Middle East, and we already know that there are coalitions building to try to help rebuild Gaza in particular. And that does look like a strategic partnership that could include Qatar, obviously, but also the United States. So to have sort of joint ventures, if you like, going on between Canada and the United States in areas where they can work together, develop more positive relationships, a lot more contacts sort of beneath the presidential level. All of those can support better relationships and support the trade talks that are coming.
We also heard Carney make some comments about Donald Trump and imply that, his tariffs may have led to these deals being necessary. He also spoke briefly about Trump's threats on Greenland. How is all this setting up upcoming meetings in Davos?
In a sense, I think what Mark Carney is doing is he's joining with others to take a strong stand, and one would hope would be respected, rather than capitulating, rather than taking a position of strength and trying to work with what frankly is a bit of an unpredictable government. But again, to build a lot of common interests at a lower level, so that they can hopefully push from below, if you like, push the interests that exist between individual states and the Canadian government and the Canadian Trading Partnership, as well as some of these other partnerships, that sort of collective strength might be something that could be respected and something to build on in continuing negotiations with the United States.
Absolutely. Lori, thank you very much for your insight this morning.
Thank you, Laura.
That is Lori Williams, political analyst at Mount Royal University.